If you put on a bit of weight after the holidays, don't worry, you're not alone. Many of us have used the holidays as an excuse to indulge and feast on our favorite meals. But if you're looking to lose that holiday weight, there's no better time than to start now. Now, we've heard about a lot of different ways to burn fat, and one of which is having a low-fat diet. But what's more important is for us to understand how your body burns fat or utilizes it for energy use. On the program today, we'll talk about how our body utilizes fat for fuel and how to better utilize fat as a source of energy. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk right here on CNN Philippines. When we hear the term fat, we often associate it with bad health. But pound for pound, fat has much more dense energy compared to protein or carbohydrates. Our guests are here today to tell us more about this. With us is Dr. Dex Macalintal, who is a lifestyle medicine specialist and registered nutritionist dietitian from Calamba Medical Center. Also with us is Dr. Joy Fontanilla. She's an endocrinologist and the section chief of endocrinology at the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. Contrary to popular belief, fat is actually essential to our health. It gives us energy and helps us absorb a lot of things. But fat always gets a bad rap compared to proteins, carbohydrates. When people hear fat, it's always sort of a bad thing. That's why I'd like to start with Dr. Joy first. Why is fat important to our body, and why does it always get this bad rap?
Many people don't realize that we need fat in our bodies. Our cell walls are lined with fat. Our human brain is actually made up of 60% fat. And we need fat to make hormones and other substances in our bodies. And our fat, we need fat as a source of energy as well, especially during times when we're fasting or doing prolonged exercise. Fat is needed to support growth and development. We need it to absorb vitamins like your fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K.
So when it comes to energy use, fat definitely pound for pound, mas maraming energy ang packed sa fat. But a lot of people think of carbohydrates as the source of energy, the main source of energy ng mga tao. Why is this so? Could you explain that difference? Why is that notion really there?
Because your carbohydrates give you around 4 kilocalories per gram of carbohydrates, same as your protein, but your fats give you around 9 kilocalories per gram. The thing is, your carbohydrates are the so-called main source of your energy because all of these carbohydrates turn to glucose, which is needed by virtually all of the cells in your body as your energy. It is easily utilized kasi. So mas madaling na-utilize talaga yung carbohydrates. But then again, after ma-deplete yung sources mo ng carbohydrates, there goes your fat as your next source of energy. And then saka pa si protein masisira or makukuha ng ating katawan to become your main source of energy.
Now let's talk about why we need to maintain a good level of fat in our body, or why excess fat naman is bad for our body. It's not just purely for aesthetic reasons, but an excess stores of fat, that be it cholesterol as well, does a lot of damage in the long run to our body. Dr. Joy, could you talk about this a little bit more? Because a lot of people might think that the only reason why we want to shed fat is to look good.
Too much fat, as you know, is not good for our bodies. It can get deposited in your blood vessels, your arteries, your heart, in your liver, different parts of the body where it can do a lot of harm. And people can have stroke or heart disease, fatty liver, and eventually lead to liver failure if it's uncontrolled. So we really need to control the amount of fat that we take in, but not just the amount of fat, the type of fat is very, very important as well. Let me talk about the unhealthy fats first. So what we call the bad fats are your trans fats and your saturated fats. The trans fats come in two forms, artificial and natural. The artificial form is the one that's really been known to be hazardous to health. You get trans fats from chemically altering your vegetable oils so that they stay solid at room temperature and they have a longer shelf life. So you see it in a lot of fast food, French fries, fried foods like donuts and baked goods, cakes, pie crusts, cookies and crackers, and thick margarine. So it's these bad fats that tend to clog up the arteries of the heart. And saturated fat, you find these in animal products like beef and pork and high-fat dairy or full cream dairy products. Now, these are the ones that tend to clog up your arteries and cause inflammation and other bad things, nasty things in our body.
Now I'd like to talk about, Dr. Dex, with you on how the notion of burning the amount of calories that you take in. A lot of people say, I'm relatively young, I'm in my 20s, I can eat anything I want because I'll just burn that off. Is that the correct way of thinking when it comes to calories and trying to minimize the bad effects of having excess fat stores?
You have to burn these fat. But then again, remember that actually fats, fat cells never decrease in number. They only decrease in size. So you have to decrease the size of your fat. So you have to have your total body exercise. Around 30 minutes or 90 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per day can be achieved, can help us achieve your weight loss or maintain your weight loss. But again, do not overdo yourself. If your body cannot sustain all of these exercises, you have to have your checkup with your doctors.
You mentioned earlier how yung carbs ng katawan ang unang binaburn bago umabot sa fat. Does this apply to why sometimes a lot of people who maybe have a exercise routine or do exercises pretty frequently, they notice parang di naman ako pumapayat?
Kapag sumusobra po ang inyong carbohydrates, that can turn to fat. Any excess of your carbohydrates will then turn to fat. So nasa-store sila as fats instead of just your glycogen or your storage form of your carbohydrates. So nangyayari na nag-overload yon at kayo po ay nagkakaroon ng more storage of fat kapag sobra-sobra yung carbohydrates niyo. Again, too much of everything is bad for the body.
Moderation definitely is key in a lot of things in life. Now, we've established how important fat is for our body, but the excess fat is what we want to tap for energy. We'll talk about that next. Keep it here on Med Talk Health Talk, only on CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is Med Talk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. There are some studies that say that a high-intensity type of workout for a short duration, short meaning probably around 1 to 5 minutes at most, is really beneficial in tapping those fat stores, in trying to use the fat as a form of energy. What should people use to maximize using fat as an energy source, Dr. Dex?
Number one is, of course, the duration and your intensity of your exercise. If you have a high intensity exercise, and even if it's for a short duration, you may use up all your energy stores. And when your energy stores are depleted, your fat can be utilized, especially if you are also doing it on your fasted state.
Dr. Dex, so would you recommend an efficient workout, an efficient exercise routine entails na wala munang kakainin carbs, wala munang kakainin rice or anything sugary before that workout is going to be done?
Best kasi na nag-workout tayo on a fasted state if you really want to lose those excess weight. So best dyan is some morning if you have already fasted. That's the ideal state there. So with that, you have already used up some of your carbohydrates, some of your carbohydrate stores, and then you are slowly tapping on of these fatty contents in your body.
Let's touch on metabolism here a little bit. How big of a factor does this play in being able to utilize our fat stores?
Well, metabolism is determined not just by what you eat, but also by your genetics. Genetics determine your metabolism. Your physical activity can determine your metabolism. And also the food that you eat can determine your metabolism. People who are, quote unquote, born with a fast metabolism, born with the thin genes, do metabolize much quicker and tend to lose weight much easier than those who have a slower metabolism. So you can try to help out the metabolism by doing exercises, by being more physically active. and also by reducing the amount of food that you eat, by sleeping the right amount of time.
Could there be an underlying illness with this? Could there be a metabolic problem here? Could there be a syndrome associated with this that they should have themselves checked? At what point do you think should our viewers think of having a checkup with their doctor despite having a good exercise routine, a good diet, but they're still not losing that excess fat?
You think you have a slow metabolism, it would be good to have an examination. Some people may have problems with their thyroid. Some people may have Cushing syndrome. Cushing syndrome is a disease wherein you have too much steroid or cortisol in your body, and that can cause you to deposit a lot of fat in the body. So there are certain conditions that we need to rule out if you have a slow metabolism. Medications as well can slow down metabolism. So people who take steroids for asthma or inflammatory diseases, people who are on antipsychotics or medications for sleep and for mental health can also affect metabolism. So it would be good to see your doctor if you have any questions about your metabolism.
Marami sa ating mga Pilipino ang gusto ng quick fix, you know? People do lose weight at that short amount of time, but what are they actually doing to their body in the long run, Dr. Dex?
So usually these fat diets are very high in fat. And low carbohydrate diets really work in losing weight, but remember that your weight is composed of your mass from your bone, your water, your fat, and your muscle. So a person doing low carbohydrate diets really lose weight from your water and from your muscle mass. Example of studies show that a low-fat diet and a high-fat ketogenic diet on athletes in training, their results show that the high-fat diet really just lose muscle mass. Again, in your low-carbohydrate diets, you only actually lose water weight and muscle mass. The problem is, since you metabolize all of these fat stores and then you add on more of your fat stores, you still give more fat than you actually need. Your body is prone to having all other diseases, like, let's say, for example, your gallbladder disease, even GERD, for example, and a host of a lot of disease.
Funny you mentioned that, Dr. Dex, because that's one of the important diet routines that's very prevalent now amongst Filipinos, and that is a ketogenic diet, because research shows that high-fat diets like the ketogenic diet can actually help you lose weight. But there are some caveats to this, and we'll talk more about them when we return. You're watching Med Talk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. In recent years, many of the most popular diets include high amounts of fat. But can reducing your carbohydrate intake and replacing them with fat really be effective for long-term weight loss? I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome back to Med Talk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. Now, many of us have heard of the ketogenic diet. Nowadays, it's really gaining popularity as the go-to diet. Dr. Joy, I'd like to ask you, this ketogenic diet was initially designed for diabetics. How did this evolve into a meal plan, a diet plan, a lifestyle plan for mainstream people?
Actually, the ketogenic diet was developed in the 1920s for as a treatment for seizures. So people had seizures or epilepsy were treated with ketogenic diet. And it's just been off late that they have been used for weight loss. So I do have patients who swear by it. They do lose weight without having to count calories, and they feel less hungry because when you're on a ketogenic diet, you call on your fat reserves for energy and you form ketone bodies, and these tend to suppress the appetite.
Dr. Joy, for our viewers who have been diagnosed with diabetes, is ketogenic diet a good option for them to have or to follow, or are there pretty much other diets out there that can be really applicable if you have diabetes?
If you have diabetes, we need to individualize your diet. If you're on certain medications like medicines that are SGLT2 inhibitors, insulin, ketogenic diet may cause hypoglycemia or acidosis. So we need to be careful about prescribing ketogenic diets for patients in those cases.
If there is a diet that is popular, it is very important that you consult with your doctor before taking part of this because, like what Dr. Joy said, every diet, not just for those for diabetics, but everyone's diet must be individualized for that person, ideally. Now, Dr. Dex, let's talk about some of the misconceptions of the ketogenic diets. Maraming gumagawa nito. Actually, maraming natutuwa because they feel that they can eat animal fat to their heart's delight and they can adhere to this diet. What are some of the misconceptions, the popular misconceptions about the ketogenic diet?
The first misconception is that you are going to reverse your diseases with the ketogenic diet. Actually, you're just controlling your diabetes when you do your ketogenic diet. Another misconception is that you can eat everything. You can eat everything that is fatty, lechon, butcheron, bacons, and everything that is fatty you can eat. Ilang itlog, ilagay mo sa plato mo, it's okay. No, it doesn't work that way. Your fats, now we have been talking about fats. You have your monounsaturated fatty acids, you have your polyunsaturated fatty acids, you have saturated fats, you have your trans fats. And if you are banking more of these animal sources like your meats and your dairy, these are all rich in saturated fats that according to the American Heart Association, we should just be aiming for a dietary pattern with no more than 5% of our calories coming from your saturated fats. So if you crank up that source, you may end up having heart disease in the long run. So another misconception is that you are going to reverse all of your diseases. But then again, we are just controlling everything. And it might be detrimental in the long run.
Dr. Joy, stress and increased weight, stress and getting thin. On both spectrums, stress can do that. What is the lowdown on this? How does stress contribute to weight gain, and how does stress contribute to this very unhealthy looking weight loss?
Well, stress makes you produce your stress hormone called cortisol. And cortisol or steroid makes you deposit more fat in your body. And also stress causes you to eat more. You know, some people do stress eating during this pandemic, and they eat more, especially at night. And this is detrimental because it can get easily deposited in your body and much harder to burn. It's very important for us also to get enough sleep. So if you're under a lot of stress, you can have trouble sleeping as well. And if you have disordered sleep or not enough quality sleep, you can have your hormones all out of whack, all out of sync, and this can contribute to weight gain.
Before we go, what's your advice for our viewers when it comes to being healthy?
To effectively lose weight and fat, again, one must have a balanced diet with a suitable exercise regimen, proper sleep, cessation of vices if you have, limitation in stress, and having a positive social connection. A diet should be in consortium with your lifestyle medicine physician, your other physicians, your specialists, your endocrinologists, your cardiologists, and all other doctors that are on your team, and of course, your registered nutritionist dietitians for proper individualized guidance.
And Dr. Joy, any words of encouragement, advice for our viewers?
Please choose your healthier fat if you're going to be indulging in fat. So fat from plant sources like avocados, nuts, and seeds are your friends, and they can help you live a healthier life. Extra virgin olive oil is also a good source of your healthy fat. Now, let's all remember to just eat to live and not live to eat.
Thank you, lifestyle medicine specialist Dr. Dex Macalintal and endocrinologist Dr. Joy Fontanilla for sharing with us your expert insights. Maraming salamat. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We'll see you again next time.